Welcome back to another episode of Cantina Chronicles. This week, we're broadcasting from the relaxing forest retreat of Kofar, bringing you the breakdown of the 2-episode premiere of The Acolyte. Finally, we're here, guys.
Kofar is nice. This is a great place to relax.
Yeah. Right?
Pour yourself a drink. Join us by the fire. We're practicing good fire safety on Kofar. We don't know what happened on Brandok 16 years ago, but we're gonna keep it safe here. But I can't wait to get into this 2-part premiere, guys. This is
huge news. Huge news. This is fire, man. Feels like a holiday. It's like we've been so spoiled by getting just these great series lined up, and they just keep happening. It feels like every 6 months it's like we've got a brand new IP, and we've just been getting so many gems, man. And this one, gosh, we've been talking about this for 3 years. Like,
yeah, I was trying to think of when they premiered it. It was at one of the celebrations.
I think
they listed
in the
off.
Pandy. And
it was because it was like this is when they talked about like Rangers of the Old Republic and like Skeleton Crew, when they listed off like here's all of
this
the
is
shows
one of the
coming.
That they were like,
it was like Celebration 2019 or something.
Gosh.
That I think we saw Leslie Headland introduce us to the show, and then from the pitch, I was excited. I was like, this is such a fantastic idea. And then I just think, Leslie Headland's now like incredible voice. I think we can add into sort of the Star Wars lexicon of great creators.
Yeah.
Such a good, strong 2-part premiere.
Yeah,
So,
and a lot of
we got episode 1, Lost/Found. Episode 2, Revenge/Justice.
Yes, there's clearly a naming
convention
standard going on, convention going on here.
Two sides of the coin. I guess I did not see this coming. I have been so radio silent. There's been interviews out there with like Leslie Headland and Filoni. I haven't seen that yet. And I've just been like so radio silent this whole time. And I think after this episode now, I'm going to go back and dig. And there's been interviews with all the actors. And now I'm curious what they're all going to say. But I didn't want this one to get spoiled for me. But now it seems pretty obvious that there are 2 sides and 2 main characters. And what a cool...
Yeah.
It is kept up the sleeve, I think, for, a tiny portion. In episode 1, we start with just May.
Yeah. So can you imagine how confused I was? It was written beautifully because like I wasn't expecting the twin, and it's just sort of like she is. Yeah, I was in suspense, and it's actually a very suspenseful moment when you're like, is she acting right now, or is she like being honest? Like, is she lying, or is she telling the truth? Like, is she the best actor ever? Or is she actually
She's an incredible
a different
actress,
person?
Amanda Stenberg.
She's really good. I will also say, because this is a mystery, don't stop asking that question.
I've got plenty more questions, Adam. Don't you worry about it. There's like, it is such a font of newness that there's a million new directions in my mind. It's just what the doctor ordered. Or what I've wanted for a while, which is just like a huge gale force of new Star Wars concepts, ideas, aliens. Like,
do you guys want to start with shout outs?
So many aliens.
Like, should we just shout outs and then get into it chronological?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll shout out to Leslie Headland for just creating the show. I think we
100%.
Like,
something completely different.
Complex, interesting new characters, new era, just so much. Dishing, like, I wrote down, like, dishing basically like quintessential Star Wars without sort of feeling beholden to the George formula. It felt like its own sort of dishing of what I would say is like maximalist Star Wars, but in such a unique way that I was like, I think she's a much needed voice, honestly. And
you knew you were in Star Wars, but it wasn't constantly referential, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't.
No, she's got a very distinct fingerprint, and I'm grateful for it. It's just like, it's a very unique take on Star Wars, and you can see the things that she's brought from the past and the ways that she's trying to push it forward, and it's great. She calls on a lot of different era and in Star Wars, but like still it's very stylized. it's very much its own style.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
as we get into this, we'll explore that more.
Yeah, and the obviously May Osha lead, Mansla Stenberg, just
Yes.
incredible. We already mentioned, but like just the support, like all the other cast, like the ensemble all together, so good.
Yeah.
Obviously Soul, Lee Jung
Mhm.
Jae, like I can't even tell you how much I love this character.
That's what you want in a master,
Yeah.
right? Like, just so good. I want to shout out Yord. Yord might be my
Oh
new
my
favorite
gosh.
character.
Okay.
Jord Fandar,
Because
the greatest name of all
yes,
time.
because boy, like Leslie Headland, that's the best naming I've ever heard. Because if I've ever met a
That guy's
Yord,
such a
that guy's a
Yord.
Yord. Like, doesn't that sound like you would call it? That guy's such a Yord. Like, it just is so good. And I'm like, I was able to watch the first episode twice. And the first episode, I'm just like, first time we'll talk about kind of that. The first watch, I was just like, I just could not click into the show. Really, I just wasn't clicking in. I think part of it was I was just tired.
Yeah.
It was a long day, and then I rewatched it today, and I'm like, oh no, this is great. I'm like totally in there in the second episode. I was sold, but like this first time watching Yord, I'm like, this character's so nice. Second time watching, I'm like, I kind of love a tryhard
Total
who
sweaty
like
tryhard.
he gives these little
Yes.
tryhard, but he gives this moment like when he first like meets or runs into Osha again, and he has this moment of you see his facade
Yeah.
drop for a second.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really good acting where you see he's like, oh no, he's actually just a normal dude who's trying too hard, like trying too hard to be a Jedi, right? Like I just kind of love that. I think he's
Yeah.
doing a good job with that.
I think
selling that
I think of
character.
him as kind of a golden boy, sort of lax bro
Mhm.
Jedi,
Mhm.
just like, but really try and captain the football team kind of guy, trying to Cyclops.
He's definitely obsessed with the institution itself. It just sort of
Totally a
has to climb.
Cyclops. Yeah, 100% a Cyclops, and I love me a
Yeah.
Cyclops because there's depth to that. Like like there's so much insecurity
Yes.
underneath that, which I
Yeah, and
appreciate.
I have to say,
Yeah.
I did love that his function in the plot a lot of the time, where he's just a hyper vigilant character, and I was like, this is so cool. Like I love knowing that a Jedi is sort of watching from the shadows at all times. It's very cool.
yes, he's almost the like good version of that dude from Andor, the bad guy from Andor, who's the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Cyril.
serial killer.
Cyril Karn.
Thank
Like
you.
serial
killer.
That's right. We
So
got
you're
there.
like, serial killer. It's there. Cyril Karn.
I mean,
Serial-
can we just
yeah,
all
there's
admit that
Serial.
that's right. Can
He-
we
does
admit
he
that
do
the
some
best
killing?
scene he does of the serial, and he will kill people. Like, can we just say that the best scene ever shot?
There's a lot of like psycho
best shot-
happening with
I-
him.
It is so psycho. And I know we're not talking about it, but I just want to say we have to all admit that the best scene in any Star Wars movie is that man.
There's a
eating
lot of
cereal.
them.
That's
No,
one of the
the
best.
scene in any
things
Star
I've ever
Wars
seen.
thing is in the Acolyte episode 2, where just a podcaster like us walks in as like a Jedi master. I was like,
Right? The tweet. I was just like, it's like, so that you're saying
So
there's a
that-
chance.
Oh, the podcaster Padawan. I love that. I didn't get his
Like,
name, so yeah, that's
he's Jedi master.
Though I will say, I do appreciate the fact that we're allowing other body types to be able
Absolutely.
to master the Force. I'm like, come on. Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
of course he
oh,
seems a little morally
come true.
ambiguous, but yeah, he's still learning.
I know they didn't really give him. At least he didn't fall down.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's like, so I feel at least somewhat where I'm like, you're
Wait,
not
the
making fat guy
Olega
fall
master
down,
and
so that's
Olega
good.
apprentice might be the single
Yeah. I have to say, so you guys,
We'll
you talked about like first watch to second watch. I did my first two watches back to back last night. I was like, okay. Yeah,
Most
and
did that,
I was
yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
good, and I was just like, I'm gonna just run these back, and
Oh, I love this. You watched them back to
Yeah.
back to back
Oh, yeah.
to back.
yeah, and
That's amazing.
because I mean, a lot of it was because like it is a new style, and it took me a moment to calibrate my like suspension of disbelief.
Yes.
There's some.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not
like
there
I
yet.
audibly laughed when Yord and Tila. No,
Jackie.
Jackie's the other Padawan. Let me grab it. It's gonna bother me.
Oh, the Padawan
It's like
that was with him in the
Teshi
beginning.
or something. But Tassi. Thank you.
Tassie?
Tassi Loa.
Tassie
yeah.
Loa?
Tashe
Yeah,
Loa.
thank you.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course, I can't find it when I need it, but
Thank
you.
Wikipedia,
It's
but yeah.
funny. I have it in front of me, and you found it faster on Wikipedia. All right. But yeah,
That scene's
yeah,
awesome.
then when they came around the corner, I like laughed. I don't know why.
Yep. It really threw me. It really threw me where I'm like, because I knew to expect it because I know the High Republic, right? I know it, and just seeing it and something about the way they were like lit and the way they were like walking, it really did. I think I really did not settle into the show the first viewing at all. It really threw me, and I think it was literally that scene. Like for some, like it reminds me of the first time I watched Force Awakens, where I'm like, is this good? I hope it's good. I think it's good. I'm not sure if it's good. Like I just could not get out of my head.
It took me like 5 minutes to get out of my head, and then I was just like, listen, just this it is what it is, because it's like sometimes it looks like the prequels, sometimes it looks like the sequels, sometimes it looks like it's very much own thing, but it's like it's very clean lighting, and there's something about the Jedi tunics that I'm just like not ready for. Like I guess it's still sort of like
This is an incredible
I know. But I'm with you, Ben. It's taken me a while too.
I thought it was incredible. I thought
I love
Indara sort of had the tunic and robes we know from the
Indara looked great.
She was like kind of in hiding on that planet. Like so. Anyways, this all made much more sense to me, and I had already like, okay, I understand the world the second viewing, and I didn't bump up against it at all. I was like, wait, this looks great. Like.
Same.
And but for the first time, it just like took me a minute to get into the aesthetic of the show, and like that's not a criticism. That's just like it's just new, and it was cool, and then once I got into it, I was like, I love this. This is great.
I thought there was a lot of like I thought the mystery was sort of being being dished like served to us just sort of matter of factly. And just sort of a lot of details being shared through exposition. But then I was like, I think then, on my rewatch, I was like, I think that just goes with the territory of a mystery genre show. Like it's you just have to present details in a sort of standard development in the plot more than obscure them longer than you have.
I felt that, and I appreciated it. The exposition happened fast, and the truth mattered. Like the truth was just like right there. Like it was just like
it was like
she
in
did
motion
it.
Too.
There's
right?
a witness. We know she did it. Like, and it was like okay, and it just moves fast. Sorry, Adam, I cut you off.
No, not at all. So this is the worst possible show for me ever made, because my analytical brain will not shut the F up while I'm watching it. So I was talking to Carly about this. I'm like, I feel like it's like there's something right in the back of my head where I'm like, it's right there. The key is right there. Like I'm going to wake up. I literally guarantee you I will wake up at 3 a.m. going, but what about this? And it won't make any sense because it'll be my sleep-addled, like weird brain, but it'll wake up going, I've solved it. It was the butler. There's no butler.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like and so it's not the show's fault. It's my fault. Second time watching the first episode, totally was able to relax into it. Like this is going to be a show that I'm going to force myself to watch twice before the podcast because I can't help but like try to get ahead of it. Like I'm constantly trying to get ahead of it because it's a mystery. One thing that I'm a little nervous about, which I can't be nervous about because I haven't done it yet, is that one of the things about mysteries that I sometimes hate is when there are cheats. And by not cheats, I just mean like, well, yes, you just cut away or you had people have an unnatural conversation in order to hide the facts.
Like something happened.
You know what I mean? Like where you make it like, well, of course we couldn't figure it. You're not smarter than me for making it impossible for me to figure it out, right? But what I'm enjoying about the show is I don't think they're doing that. I think when the secret is revealed, because I think there is a huge, I think it's pretty clear there's going to be a huge secret reveal at some point with this thing, that it will be clean. Yeah. I have faith that it's going to be a clean reveal.
Yeah, there's a couple of characters that I think are definitely hiding information. There's a few characters hiding information.
We'll get to it more in when we cover episode 2. In a few minutes, but
Do you want to jump? Do you want to jump to episode 1 right now and just talk about?
Yeah, you want to just kind of take it. Chronologically. It's like remember, guys. I said we're going to take it chronologically. Before we
do you guys want to talk about the pseudo crawl?
It's a time of peace. There are force users practicing in secret in the galaxy, and an assassin risks discovery by seeking revenge.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And it's sort of like that. That's not the crawl verbatim. That's just sort of what I remember.
It's a pretty good paraphrase.
No, but that's it. That's
in the dark corners of the galaxy, a powerful.
Then we tilt down from just the star field behind the text to through clouds on the planet, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But it worked.
All right, so that tilt down, I want that
Yeah.
encapsulates something that goes through this whole series. I love it. They use like classic tilts, like all the wipes, the corny like wipes from the middle, the wipes across the side, like all the original trilogy like wipes and like moves are used in this, and the score. Yeah,
The
Michael Abels.
Very,
so Michael Abels has entered the chat in the pantheon of great Star Wars composers, but I felt like he did. It's like John Williams, a little modernized, a little elevated, but like without the theme, like the leitmotif, the like use of like, or we will probably get like indelible themes eventually. Yeah,
as it develops over
when
the season, we'll figure out these things. No, I know what you mean. There's
Master Torben on the ground. It is like the Kaminoan or like the themes from Attack of the Clones, like the mystery theme.
Yep.
It's like the detective mystery theme in this show is like basically like very similar to the Obi-Wan detective mystery theme, which I thought was just a beautiful.
It just so definitely was just like called in themes. Like Osha tries to use the Force in the jail cell, and like the sort of, it's like a pseudo Force theme came in, but it was like beautiful. I think they paid
so good
real money for this. I mean, did you guys watch the credits on this? They're like 8 minutes of credits. The credits are like a feature film. There's a billion per people worked on this. It's wild.
Yeah, it's huge.
And
I mean, as we talked about last week,
it travels
it's so expensive.
Well.
Yeah, it travels quite a bit, but like, but
it does. It's very indoors, though.
Anyways, just last note on the score. I'm just gonna say, I think that like I think it was all orchestra all the time. We've had like a lot of use of like other instruments, but he just had like his orchestra, and he's Michael Abels. I guess he's had a long career, but most recently he is Jordan Peele's guy. He's done 3 Jordan Peele films.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is very, like, if you think about it, Jordan Peele is going down the, I mean, I don't want to be reductive, but he's very much going down a Spielbergian route with his directing, right? Able to like just do that emotion and nostalgia and just giant feelings, and like, and that's a big thing of that is the orchestra you're using or the score you're using, and I've been really blown away with the scoring in Us, and like what was the last one? I can't think of the name of it.
Nope.
Which I loved. Nope. Which I loved. But like the score of that was really amazing.
I think
Us is a masterpiece.
That makes a ton of sense. Us is so good. I mean, Get Out's amazing too, but
they're all so
I think
good.
that was the 3.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is really important with the scoring in the show is it is a quieter show, right? Like in terms of, it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of quiet moments. There's action set pieces, which are mostly just one-on-one combat, but it is not like it is. I was kind of blown away when I was watching it earlier today, the second episode, of just like it's a detective show, so it's very quiet, and you can really hear the score. And the score is doing a lot of the work in a good way.
I just wanted to talk about that because it's worth noting. That's this like, it's just the stuff on the fringes that holds you into Star Wars and just makes it feel familiar. You know, the use of landscapes, the wipes and all that stuff. I like.
So this first scene, we saw this first scene during the movie marathon.
Right. After, if you went and saw Phantom Menace, you would have seen this.
Phantom Menace, that's right. Yeah. We saw a lot of the scene. We didn't see the end of this scene, but it was also, I think, a little truncated. We didn't get the dialogue beats as well. And we finally get the scene in whole of May, a Force sensitive assassin, an unidentified Force user, as the Jedi would say.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
lands on a planet called Ueda to murder Master Indara, a Jedi Master in the Order, because Indara was supposedly involved in some tragic incident on Brandok, her homeworld, 16 years ago. But we're told all this stuff later. But it's just, that's good context.
All we know is
because
she has beef with Indara.
In that scene, you're just like, what? Why? What is this premeditated murder all about? Like you're kind of don't know the details.
But she has like a specific like calling out scene.
Yeah, so this is what I want to get to. So then when May approaches Indara, who Like, what is Indara doing in that cantina when May gets there? I'm like, is she looking at a wall? Like, what is
And
I
happening?
don't know.
I
But
think she's
anyways,
drinking and hanging out with the
Hanging out with the
locals. Yeah,
locals.
just chilling in the local pub,
Yeah.
being real.
You know, that's what being a Jedi in the Outer Rim's all about. Is like, yeah, it's just, you know, it's like a sheriff of the Old West. You're just hanging
it
out
was very
at
it
the
was
local
very
watering
Western
hole.
now that you say that, because it was this what
Yeah.
it felt very like, just sort of Western genre.
An Eastern genre too.
We have
It's
to
like
stop talking about
very kung
Westerns or
fu
else.
thing where the guy's
Yeah,
just
very
sitting in the
much.
corner of the
Yeah.
of the tea house or whatever, and like and gets called out. Yeah,
And then she goes, Master Indara, we have unfinished business. Attack me with all your strength. And Indara's like, Jedi do not attack the unarmed. And then she screams, yes, you do, all caps, exclamation point.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So like
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful to like start your piece with.
It's the seeds of the mystery
Call out.
right there,
Yeah.
right? Like we know, yeah, there is a untold history going
That
on of
level of
something
emotion,
she
you think
feels
there's
wrong.
definitely some sort
Yeah.
of judgment happening here towards some possible injustice that the Jedi committed, or I think that's I think what's insinuated or subtext there.
Yeah. Totally. Yep.
It's fascinating. So it just draws you in immediately. Incredible fight scene. Like it evokes like, again, like you're saying, like the Hong Kong action,
Yeah.
spectacular films like House of Flying Daggers and Crouching Tiger and all the old school stuff too. John Woo, Hard Boiled, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just such high quality action choreography.
Yeah, beautiful fight scene, and a lot of martial arts, and we'll see more martial arts as we get into this. But I was thinking about this, and like, it just makes so much sense that the Jedi's would use martial arts, and we never see it because I don't think they want to really go through the effort of training all of their Jedi actors and stuff. But like, the lightsaber is like a last resort. Like we're really, this show is giving really hard boiled thesis on what it is to be a Jedi and the Jedi Creed, and like when to use aggression and when not to. We've never really seen it just so overt, and because I think they're not being directly attacked on a personal scale. And this is the stuff, Grant, this is like all you live for, right? This is like two people facing off with their conflicting like ideologies, right? Like this is the dialogue you love, right?
Yeah, that's actually what I love when there's, well, I almost love when there's two very different sort of ideologies surrounding the Force, right? Like we don't really know who the assassin is. We may assume it's a dark side, a character of the Sith or whatever you want to, with the lore and what that character, hails from, what they believe. But they don't get into that implicitly. It's not. It's very mysterious to start, and so you're seeing a Jedi fight someone who fights unarmed, and you don't know why she's fighting unarmed in the beginning. It's clearly to provoke the Jedi and to take advantage that the Jedi can't really, they're not going to use deadly force, or they're not going to attack anyone who's unarmed before them, and so it's almost like a psychological game that you find out later. At the very end of this episode, you get a giant clue as to why she fights the way she does. But in the beginning here, it's completely mysterious, and so it's cool to see someone fight with like little kunai or daggers, like whipping those around. Like that's cool, and it's also like that's hard to fight against as a Jedi because it's just they're such small,
Yeah, I mean, it kind
and
of is, but it's like there's no doubt that if Indira wanted to incapacitate her, she could have easily. Like Indara was definitely
that's why she's fighting unarmed, I imagine.
Right.
It's this psychological game of like you're not going to go full force, and I'll then when there's a weak point, I'll take advantage of it. There's always a weak point.
There's always a weak point.
There's always a weak point. There's always a weak point.
Thank you, Han Solo.
We'll get to my favorite character of all time in a second.
We'll save big speculations until later.
All right, so
because I have feelings about what down here.
So
but
she
we'll
does
talk
the
about that
old
later.
like you have to make Sophie's choice: save others or save yourself. And Carrie Ann Moss saves others.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. It should seem like a Jedi Master might be able to
So
do both, but we'll talk about that later.
second watch, it's pretty bang bang. I like that because I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought she would have. I'm like, Obi-Wan would have like put a hand out or something, like, or Anakin would definitely been able to take care of both things. But it's pretty like she
Mhm.
grabs it, thunk into the chest. Like that's it. It's pretty fast. So,
Yeah, yeah.
rest in peace,
Yeah,
Carrie
yeah.
Ann Moss. We hardly knew ye. Thank you for joining a Star
Maybe.
War. It was a pleasure. That one scene was a joy. And even has like,
I mean, we got to
Yeah.
see what happens on Brandok. I have a
oh
feeling
yeah,
we haven't seen the
yeah,
last.
that's a good point.
Moss.
We're definitely gonna see that.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be we'll see her back in flashbacks, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And
Not sure, but I would
I
Not sure,
swear
but
they
I'm just-
used the green lightsaber because it's like a Matrix color, that like core neon green. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
totally.
oh, that's not on accident.
Yeah.
I loved the shot where she's approaching her and sort of holding the saber above her
Yes.
head and the window. I was like, oh, this is so
How'd you
good.
feel with the first time you saw a lightsaber ignited in this new series?
I liked it. I felt it was
Yeah.
extremely heroic, so I was excited about that. It was, yeah, I don't know, because before that it's that they harm people who are unarmed, and this whole philosophical debate that the Jedi are, I mean, like, not philosophical debate, it's like obviously Jedi are flawed individuals, like they're not, none of them are truly, I would say,
Yeah.
morally upstanding, to a degree that's almost inhuman. Like they're all fallible, and so it's like, but it's just like to how you explore that is to me, like, I immediately start like thinking about the scene in which I'm going to see an injustice committed by the Jedi, and then what that makes me think of just the Jedi in general, and when she does draw that saber for the first time, I'm like, I'm having complicated feelings
Right.
about
Because you want to believe the Jedi
drawing.
are good.
Yep.
We all do, right? We grew up with the Jedi being good, and it's like, are you going to show me something that I'm not going to be able to mentally recover from? If it's like, well, yeah, that's a deep, right, central flaw, I guess, to the ethos, or is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I reading you right?
No, I'm saying I think it's important. I think that it's more compelling to explore flawed Jedi than it is to just explore, deeply heroic Jedi.
Yes.
And so, but the
Yeah.
show also
I'm
tells both sides of the coin as well. Where Osha, who we'll meet in just a minute here, it says she has faith in the Jedi, and like there's wonderful score plays under that, and a lot of the characters. Soul, like, Osha's belief in Soul, Soul's belief in Osha. There's a lot of hope in
Yeah.
this show, and there's a lot of like Jedi idealism that I do, but it's always the Jedi who is sort of the rogue individual and not there for the institution, but there for the betterment of like his peers. That's the one that's the good one, essentially. That's actually the idealistic
Yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah. All right.
Can I ask you? Okay, I gotta ask a question, and I'm sorry because this is gonna completely derail us.
I've got two more questions after you, so
I can't. I can't. I can't not do this. And I bet you're gonna get so angry.
Does Morpheus and
'cause this is gonna completely derail
Morphisto
us.
like? Is this just like
No,
when
no, no,
Silver
no, no, no.
Surfer
It's
did?
relevant. No. I guess no. You're good.
We'll get there.
This is
in the
relevant.
third hour.
I'm just afraid this is like we're gonna derail this linear storytelling, but I can't because we keep talking about the scene. Okay, so if you're the Jedi and you found twins who were really attached to each other and you want to train them, wouldn't you split them up immediately and not tell each other that they survived in order to evolve to not have attachments?
I love that take.
I think. Well, you may be
I'm
talking
just
about
saying.
what's ahead on the show, honestly.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, like, I don't know if we're dealing with any flawed Jedis because nothing we see matters. Nothing we see, man, actually counts. I'm just
What do
saying.
you mean nothing we see actually counts?
Sorry. I a lot of ways to fake deaths, a lot of ways to go undercover, a lot of ways to do a lot of things that I'm starting to, this show is starting to
Right.
make me feel
How-
like nothing I'm seeing is actually what I'm seeing
Right.
because
How
things
do
are
they both
weird.
live and, yeah. Right. And what? Yeah.
I
not
separate
know each other.
twins.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
like,
You're onto something there.
I'm just
I have
saying.
another
Anyway,
piece
but
of
I
that
don't.
puzzle
I know we're
later.
gonna do this later.
I have another piece of that
Okay,
puzzle
good.
later.
So let's put a pin in it and we can move on. And I will
Right. No, that'll be
compose
end of the
myself.
shows. That'll be end of the show sort of guess.
I know. I'm trying. It's just so
This
hard.
is all about, because there's a lot of fun details in the mystery show. This is what mystery shows are about. Is at the very end we'll
Hate
just
'em.
have some playful guesses
Yeah.
about maybe where it's going, because it's such a fun, twisty, detective thriller. And so I
Yeah.
wanna
Okay.
keep it.
I do have a couple questions that are pertinent to the scene as well, just real quick.
Please.
Does Master Indira know which twin she's looking at? She looks at the scar on the forehead. That's the one differentiator, right? But she sees that. Does she know there's two?
We don't have context for May,
What's your
but
guess?
we have context for Osha, and I think they both have that mark. If I'm
I
not
don't think
mistaken.
Osha does.
Okay.
I'm not observant in that way, so I couldn't say.
I was looking
My
for
guess
it
is that
and I
she
didn't
does
see it. It's
know.
white, so it like would poke through the dreads a little, but I didn't see it.
All right, I'll have to keep an eye out next rewatch. I'm guessing she does know that it's May.
Yeah, I am too,
Yeah.
which is fascinating, right?
Yeah. Right, which means more people knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
What's your other?
I think the other thing is a statement. I just wanted to say that that May actually looked sad after she killed Master Indira.
Yes,
She
did.
looked mournful.
Yeah.
Which is a thing.
Yeah. And we know she's not a full 100% dark side. She shows a little bit of sympathy at the end, right, of not killing the bartender. Though,
child,
if it's a master plan and you need a witness, it makes sense to leave a witness. Just saying.
Okay. Yeah, all that could be. We just don't know.
Yeah. Could know, don't know. That's why I'm so. That's why I hate it and love it.
The amount of aliens, like humanoid sort of.
Oh yeah,
humanoids
absolutely.
Yes.
So
And all
many
brand
aliens,
new, not a Twi'lek in sight. Nothing against Twi'lek, but
no. Well,
but
I know. Not 100% brand new, because as we're going to talk about momentarily, we're going to see some familiar aliens we haven't seen in quite some time.
Oh,
since the prequels.
Yeah, Nemoidians.
Oh yeah, there's some fun stuff. There's a throwback to
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic too, which blew my mind basically.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that? I missed that.
Oh yeah, you see
Let's
a
talk
cell
about that
cat
one
just sitting in a booth somewhere
Really?
Yeah.
I watch.
from Manon,
I missed that.
Nice.
Yeah.
the Colta
Right. So
harvesting plant.
okay. Sorry, I'm pushing us along. We can always talk about aliens.
No, well, should we? So that end of the scene, Indira dies, and then May leaves, and and then we cut to Osha waking up. You are not told that her name. If you're just watching the show, you just see the same character, the assassin character, wake up in bed.
Yes.
And I did.
Unless
think
you're
it was
watching
the same
subtitles
character
or
for just a split second, and then
same.
you start to ask questions.
Much longer than a split second for me. Much longer. Scenes and scenes. Like I didn't know. I wasn't sure. And even like Jenny was just like, she was like, huh, like, is this she thought it was a flashback and was like, oh, maybe it was before.
Yep. I was wondering if they were doing some timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, I loved it.
Same.
It was very unclear, and I really enjoyed it. Though my mind was working overtime there for a while, for a good half an episode or whatever.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it too, because you didn't need to hold hands. It made sense the way the story was told, that you would cut between these two characters, and eventually it revealed clearly that these are two separate characters. Maybe.
This is the other sister, Osha.
Right.
We learned.
Yeah.
And we meet Pip. The little droid.
Disney's just printing money, selling pips. Real cool.
This does
The
seem
Walkman droid.
Yeah, it's an iPad.
cool.
It's an iPhone
Seems real
droid.
portable.
Thanks, Jenny. I have to give her credit because she said that too. It's like it just does different things, but it's like a handheld that does a million like tools. Are we gonna split hairs here?
No, it does like everything, and it makes me feel like, boy, the High Republic really was like the golden age of like everything. We're like, why do we bother having an R2 now? We could just all have a pip. But anyway,
right, super fun.
Yeah, it's
because we see that
great.
Jedi Vector
Yes.
in that scene. I was like,
A great scene. They definitely, these Nemoidians. So it was good to see Nemoidians again, and the trade feds.
Sure.
Very different accent in this show, actually.
They really tried to thread that needle, didn't they? Where they were like, we're gonna kind of make them use the same cadence, like they talked in the same way, but didn't quite use.
They must have been from a different region
that was
of Nemoidia. Then
they're still very disparaging about the Jedi, which you love to see.
Yes, no,
they're like Jedi.
Yeah, and then the female Nemoidian, who
and
was
then like
great
the whole,
too. And she's like, ugh.
Yep.
Yeah, they wrote this like, and they're like, oh, we're so happy to see you. Why do you grace us with your, and it's just, I mean, the Jedi in the show are,
and the whole
dorks,
mech neck,
and it's like they're not wanted.
Oh, they're
such
total
dorks,
dorks.
and like
Yeah.
no one wants them around, and they're just like, these stuffed shirt like really do-gooders, and it's like everyone else is just like, oh, really? It's kind of it's a funny like
Yeah.
way to frame them, but they're still awesome.
It is really funny. They're just the party ends
Yeah.
whenever they come in. They're like the like the bummer police.
Yeah.
But I love that the mech neck like
Job,
just
yeah.
lore. I found like I just love that idea of just like here's a new job. Very quickly bring you into the fact that like they're humans are less expensive than droids. They're easier to use than droids, and but they've been made illegal, and then still like
It was
a lot
like
of people still use
automation
them. Like I love it.
She was like,
Yeah, it's so
I'm
fascinating.
faster than a droid, and I'm better company.
Yeah,
or
I'm better
whatever.
company and more flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really funny that so her job's mechanic, and the running joke is like, ugh, dangerous work, and her name is OSHA, which
Yeah, OSHA.
so if you're not in
I
America
did
listening to this
not
right now,
even.
there's a company called like
Wow.
Occupational Hazard and Safety Association, and they watch whatever they oversee and assess penalties based on like workplace safety, and
Yes. If you've ever been in the back room of a workplace and you see a poster about
it's
safety,
from OSHA,
it's
right?
from OSHA.
And but I just think that's funny that it's her name, and it is a kind of a running joke in Star Wars because there's not railings on anything, and everyone's like, "Where's OSHA?" Anyway, so I think that's a bit that they're doing.
Yeah,
They're doing a bit there.
Yeah,
Totally
especially
missed
her
that, but
first
it's 100% that's
spacewalk. You're
great.
thinking that as a sort of meta layer. You're like, this is fun.
Yeah. And we meet Yord and Tassi. There it is, Padawan Tassi.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Oh, Yord. And Tassi seems like a real just stick in the mud too.
I do love what this is like the first Jedi you're meeting in this series, right? Like this is no, because first you get Indira, but like the first like in like this idea of just in how lame they are.
Yeah. That also took me out of it too. I was like, wait a second, what is up with this stuff? But then I was like, oh, this is 100% intentional.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Just police monks. What are you
What
gonna
are you
do?
gonna do? And like Tassi rolls in with her clipboard. You're like, ugh, oh god.
I know. But Yord was talking to the Neimoidians and like put his hand out like he was going to do like a Kylo Ren.
Oh yes.
Mind
so I want to talk about this for a
probe.
second.
Yes.
Yeah, can we? Yeah.
Was this evidence? Was this supporting evidence that sort of the Jedi can be impulsive and abuse power and stuff like that? Because he like almost mind tricks them immediately or something.
He's about to, but the female Neimoidian cuts. He's like just gives up the goods.
Yeah.
She like sees him using the Force. Is like, I'll just tell you. Let's not go through. I don't want to find out what he's gonna say.
Right. Which it could be a couple things. Like I feel like we've seen this in other Jedi users who will like allow people's fear of the Force to talk. Like he wasn't actually going to do anything,
Right.
but just implying that he could. But that still, like to me, really skirts the line.
Yes.
And I feel like that's Yord's character of just like he. I mean, again, just all like praise to Leslie Headland to be able to build these characters. I feel like I understand these characters
already.
so wholly in 2 episodes. And I feel like he's just a tryhard who got promoted, probably feels like he got promoted faster than he should have, or is just trying to prove himself. He now has a Padawan on, so he has to be like the big man on campus. And I feel like he's just so wants to do this mission right, and he's like willing to. He's like that. He just automatically starts pushing the line in order to get the information, which I'm like, love it. I mean, don't love it, but love it from a storytelling standpoint.
And we see it, but we see Soul does it a couple times, and like they do seem a little bit like, no, we can just mind read anyone we want. And I mean, we could also talk about like we never did our Force Powers episode. I think that was supposed to be last week, and I forgot. But I'm going to list all of the Force Powers I've seen in Star Wars, and just to see how see the breadth of it, and if there's any thread in between. I don't know. I'll do this.
To be fair, it took us 2.5 hours to rank all of the episodes.
We did plenty of content.
There's no time for Force
plenty
Powers.
of content last week. And actually, Grant mentioned that.
There's even more Force Powers now
Yes!
with Acolyte and Tales of the Empire. There's like so much.
Yeah, no, it's like it's growing exponentially, and I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta make a list. That's how exciting I am on Friday night.
Spreadsheets begin.
All right, there's this one, and there's this one. Okay, trade feds. There's your.
So then we get the prison transport after that, or is that?
Yeah, we get the interaction between Yord and Asha, And so that was a
right, knew each other. They're Padawans
they
together.
did the exposition with like you were.
Yeah.
It's like I never thought I'd see the day where you become a knight, and you're like, what
Yeah.
does that mean?
It's
But-
weird. So the first time I watched
Yeah.
it, I was on Yord's side where like she grabbed for for Pip, and he grabbed for his lightsaber in that interaction.
Yeah.
Like I was like, no, I'm like, you watch her. That's the right move. And then the second time I was like with her, where it's like, whoa, buddy, what's going on? Like that's you see
what could she have done? It's
Yeah.
like, do you know, like exactly. I was with you, like same. I was just like second time I watched it, I was just like, chill out,
Yeah.
dude. Like it's. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but it feels like commentary about cops.
Have you ever had a gun pulled on you on a traffic stop?
you know-
I have. It is. I'm like,
Yeah,
whoa,
no,
hey,
luckily, I've had a so yes, I haven't had it pulled, but I've had a hand go to a gun
Yeah,
before.
it's
which is,
disconcerting.
one of the scariest things you could ever experience. You know, I cannot even like at this point. Like I could absolutely. I don't have PTSD, but I could absolutely explain it in slow motion.
Right.
Every single
every
movement
part
in
of
that person's
their
muscles,
life
in
flashes
their hand
before
muscles
your
that
eyes.
happened.
You're just like, you got bullied in school. You were a straight
Yes.
C- student.
Yep.
No one ever
Yep.
likes you. This is the biggest moment of your life. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm dead. Yeah. Anywho's.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, but no. So, but I'm with you. But in that scene is also the moment where I love. There's a lot going on because the other part of that scene is Yord's facade slipping. Like he cracks a smile for a second. Like there's this moment of him like, oh, you were like a fun Padawan.
We were
like, you
buddies.
Had like you were a kid at some
We were
point.
friends.
You were buddies
We
with people.
are
Like you
friends.
actually had friends. You weren't just a lame.
Yeah, and Osha greets him so
whatever.
warmly. She's just like, oh, my friend stopped in. This is awesome.
Dude, you ruined Osha for me. Because now every time you say
I'm
Osha,
sorry.
I can't not think of like the.
Sorry. Hey, but you
I'm
know
so
what?
angry.
Everyone's safer around her.
I just have to
okay.
not tell Carly that. That's my only goal. Is
I'm,
not to tell
I'm
my wife
sorry,
that.
Adam. If I could
No, it's
mind
fine.
control you and wipe that and do a memory wipe,
Please.
I would do that.
No, but I love it. It's great.
Yeah, we talked about how fast the exposition goes. It's just like bang, 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 bang. Like we've got her. Like there's they don't dither like, they don't dither away time.
It moves very quick.
She can't just ride back in the Vector with them. They're like, please go on the prison transport.
Yeah. So
like-
this is where the show started to throw me, and I
Vectors
don't
are
mean in a
tiny.
bad way. They are very small.
Two
But I was just like,
Is she gonna
I was
sit in
like-
Tossie's lap?
But I was just sitting there going like, why are you doing this from a storytelling standpoint? And I'm like trying to connect the dots a little bit, which is again, that's a me problem, not a show problem. But like, so there's stuff going on, but I they do, so they go in the prison transport is the next scene. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Where we get a whole
actually, no,
new host
I
of.
love-
I think then
Do we cut to the temple?
I think
Or
we
to,
might cut to the
Coruscant?
I think we cut to the temple with Soul, and then the
Okay.
and
go
we
to
get
Seoul.
the
Yeah.
On the
teaching
young
scene
ones.
that we see in the trailer, where it's like,
Yeah.
close your mind, think about the Force. What do you see?
Telling a kid who has
Your
no
eyes
eyelids to close his
deceive.
eyes.
That's a very
whatever,
important-
It's
Yeah.
fine.
So that's so funny because it was like it was set up to be like, oh, there was this once upon a time there was this bad Padawan, right, or a bad youngling. Like that's kind of the way the trailer looked.
I love him misdirecting the trailer. Yeah.
But so
Yep.
now, what do you think about the prophecy of a fire ever spreading?
Yeah. I
Whoops, I said prophecy. I didn't. I just meant to say her line, but I think it's
Yeah.
prophecy. I think, and then Vernestra comes through the door, and it's sort of like she's sensing maybe Soul's future.
Wait, prophecy.
Yeah, I'm kind of with
Is
Ben
it-
on
no,
this because
but like
Fire ever spreading,
every
and it's like
other line from the
no,
yeah,
but I mean there
that's-
already was a massive fire in the plot that we're going to explore that's in the past. Why would you do another one?
So
in
it
the future?
could be the past that she's seeing, but I think it's sort of like a metaphor that the fire has been reignited, or the fire never went out, and now it's.
I want to
fire
talk
is
about
the-
this further because I think it's super important, but I also feel like
Fire's the Empire.
I don't think there's really a larger prophecy at hand. But it's like
all right, not like it will
Master,
be foretold.
Master Soul
but-
Not a
also
prophecy.
then says, but like fire and like the ocean, like the great oceans, like the Force is powerful and we have to reckon with its power. And that scene corresponds directly to Osha trying to reach out with the Force for the first time. It's this beautiful rhyme sort of links scene.
There's rhyming there. I think two things can be true, because the other thing is too is like all the other kids are, from a teacher standpoint, are giving you the answer that they think you want. Like all the BS that the first two kids say is just like, no, you're just telling me what you think you want to hear. Like I feel peace and let me
I feel balance.
Sorry,
it's shut up, Brittany.
It's the end. It's the end of the semester.
Academic paper.
It's the end of the semester. I'm burnt with people trying to give me the answer they think I want. But the kid who says fire, that's the only true statement in the room, right? And so it's my thing is like it is a vision. I think it's a Jedi vision. Like and like some of them come true. It's unseen, but I think that kid, and it rhymes its own poem. It rhymes everything else. I think seeing the rise of the Galactic Empire.
Oh wow,
right? Like
huge.
I just
think it's this story that I think it's the events of this story she's sensing. Like always emotion the future is.
I think she's sensing the rise of the dark side coming back. And I think that's what the story is telling, right? Is the rise of the Acolytes, rise of the dark side. That's my theory. And I don't think it's gonna
ashes.
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't think it's gonna I don't think we'll ever hear it again. It's not a part. I think it's just a storytelling motif and whatever, but that's my take of it, is that's what the kids
I love
seeing.
that. I was thinking of it even smaller. It's just because like it's these two sisters coming back. It's this like buried event of fire, reigniting again, and sort of whatever the next events are. It's sending Soul back into this place that he never wanted to be in, to the fire, and and what happened there. And she sensed it.
This is why I love these prophecy stories, and that could be, or
it's
prophecies,
it's
or visions, or whatever. It could mean it's a vision. It could mean anything.
Yeah, but it's also this perfect foreshadowing for Vernestra Row's sort of appearance or entrance.
Yeah,
and maybe Vernestra Row is emanating with that sort of that idea of the fire long ago and knows about that subject matter. Given you find out she's quite old at this point, and she's been around even when Master Soul was a youngling. She was a Jedi Knight or Master, I imagine, and so this is probably a Master for how. Yeah, she's
I would assume
been around for a while.
She's got to be. She's hundreds of years old at this point, right? Or a couple hundred years old, I think.
100 and I didn't do the exact math, but it might even be 150.
She's
isn't the other one.
But they do mention that her
years before, I think approximately, is the main storyline, and 350 for the prequel,
right?
And then now we're 100 after.
Yeah,
so I think $150 and change.
Yeah, so 150 and change. Yeah,
I thought Rebecca Henderson was such a badass in this role, and
it's a badass character.
I just thought she was such a commanding presence, and her voice just knocked me out. Like in the rewatch, I'll say on the rewatch, this character and Kamir, who we'll talk about later, blew my mind. Essentially, I was like, this is some of the best Star Wars characters to ever, grace the screen. I just loved just their voices, their what they were saying, what they're possibly hiding. It felt like, again, when I say people are hiding details in this show, I would say Vernestra Row seems a little suspicious. Soul seems suspicious. Anyone who was on Brandok 16 years ago,
the four people, the four Jedi, plus Vernestra.
I think,
because there's a weird scene where there's a weird scene of exposition where Vernestra Row calls it out as exposition, which is a weird thing to do in show, because literally Soul is telling her about what happened, and she's like, yeah, I know. She's literally so this is weird. This is weird to have your character then go yeah, dude, I know. It's something's going on
she's
there.
I remember you when you were a child. I think it's for Leslie, it was an interesting call. Yoda exists in this timeline somewhere, and she didn't use him. She was like, no, Vernestra is such a more interesting pull. I mean, I love Yoda, right? But it's just
totally.
It's a great pull. She is such a fascinating character.
Yeah.
But I have to say, if the three of us were Jedi, guarding some library on a forgotten ice moon or something, I don't mean this as the show and any criticism of the show. Vernestra kind of sucks now, dude. Have you noted she's now she's part of the Jedi bureaucracy, and she's very straight.
Yeah. And she's
and it's she's
well, maybe live long enough to become the thing you hate.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
right?
think Adam's
Like,
nailing it. I think it's that age
Yeah.
differential between like the younger masters and when I say younger, I mean like they're
Yeah.
middle aged or senior sort of Jedi masters, and then the ones that are just have these very long lifespans that are have been around for a long time and seen a lot, and they just want to have small council meetings on everything and be like, we want to have meaningful conversations about what our actions here, because I think they see a lot of more youthful Jedi as impulsive
Yeah.
or something, and it's just
Yeah.
it's gonna it's
Absolutely.
just
I just mean it from a sense where it's
the
like,
whole
man,
thing.
I remember you when you were cool. Now I'm
I
like, oh,
know.
you're a
No, it's the
square
thing.
now. You're like, you're the man, and like, it's like, okay, all right, but
I
yeah,
know.
no,
But it's even like, think about like Yoda and Obi-Wan when we meet them again in like the original trilogy. They're very just like, it's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll train you.
yeah,
There are others like, it's not a big deal, dude. We've lived through so much. I think Vanessa Rose like, I lived through the Nile and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
This is fine. It'll be fine. We'll do our best. Like, it's weird. I have aging parents who are not at all, this is to get like too personal, but like not at all religious people. But the new thing since I've like started living with them has been like, it'll all work out the way it's meant to be work out.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean by that? That's not a thing. And like, the
very
more I
zen.
talked to them about it, but the more I talked about it, they're like, no, it's not like there's a plan or anything. It's just like things happen and you just deal with it, dude. And I'm like, all right, yeah. I get where you're coming from. Like, you know what I mean? More of just like, like I feel like they're all doing like, don't sweat the small stuff and everything's the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the philosophy
Wait,
of like,
that's
you
very,
don't
very
stage Jedi.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I hope I achieved
Yeah,
that.
it's
sort of-
weird, but
It's
I
interesting though, because it feels like Vernestra Rowe in the button on that scene is just like, may the force be with you, but it's like the way she says it and the inflection on the words are just like, it just felt
Yeah.
different. I don't know. It didn't
Yes.
feel like I sincerely want the force to protect you. It felt like,
Be wary of the force.
I don't
Also,
know. It's just
like hopefully the
Yeah,
right side of
there's
the force. is with
something
her.
about her
there's
character.
something going on
Yeah.
with Vernestra Rowe, like
There
an
is.
interesting
Yes.
thing. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of Vernestra Rowe, which is awesome. And I was
Oh,
like,
more than
okay,
I was
so
expecting.
part of me is just loving this mystery with Vernestra Rowe. Maybe was she a part of sort of wiping the data of the twins from the Jedi archives
Right?
or whatever? Like, because who has clearance to do that other than like High Council? Or
That's
you can't just do that.
The
Are you
other question I
accusing
had
of
is like, so
her
she.
of erasing memory from the the database.
I'm just saying that's
Jedi
the only
archives?
thing I'll accuse her of doing,
I-
because I was just
I-
like, is she doing something in the scene?
I also don't know if it's only from the database.
I know she's an awesome character in the High Republic, and she's a good Jedi. Essentially, it's just more.
We also
of
know
like,
she's
she
seen the
could-
stuff in the jungle. You know.
Yes.
she wants to protect the brand.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
She also stood.
That's what
She still could be a good Jedi, especially if the goal of this whole thing is to infiltrate a dark side sect to try to figure out what's going on. I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying. I'm
Whoa,
just saying.
Adam. Whoa.
So just saying. But my point is, we've talked about it already. There's moments of Jedi being very casually using mind techniques in this show, 2 episodes, and Vanessa Rowe is like being reminded of things that she knows. Like there's this weird thing going on with memory in the show that
Oh
I'm starting
my
to finally
gosh.
click in on. There's memory manipulation going on in the show, and I don't know who or where or what.
That
Just saying.
that was pretty much going to be my button too, but we'll wait till we get there.
Oh,
in the
I'm
next one.
sorry.
Wait, we're gonna do this at
Sorry.
the very end. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
gonna happen
I'm
at the very
sorry.
end.
I
But
cannot
no,
help
like,
No,
this
we'll
is
call that a
really bad
teaser.
because-
Adam.
yeah.
You
Yeah, I will. I'll put a pin
because I
in
think
it.
the very
Put a
end of
pin
this
in it, yeah.
episode also is going to generate a lot of discourse about just like what it might be under the mask, and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
I do.
So let's
Anyways, that seems
let's keep
incredible with
hustling
the
along
Vanessa
here.
Soul.
Yeah. The
Yes.
You know what? I swear Vanessa says something like, "We need to resolve this quickly. It doesn't look good for the
does say that,
Jedi
yeah.
or something." And I was like, "I swear."
Oh, absolutely. She says that. It was like very political,
Okay,
just
thank
like
you.
we need to sweep this under
like,
the
did I
rug.
make that up?
Like to the extent where it's like, I don't care if she's guilty or not. We're just gonna get this done.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna put someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what like not. A
Do you know
virtuous
that?
thing.
Quick side note. I was just kind of Googled. Do you know Rebecca Henderson is married to Leslie Henderson?
Oh.
Oh, that's.
Which is like, I would totally. It was really funny.
I
Is like,
did
I'm
know
glad
that,
I just
yeah.
found that out now because like normally I'd be like, that feels like nepotism. Which I mean, maybe, but I'm like, she's also killing it. So I'm like, no, I have no problem
Yeah.
with this. Like, she's doing great. That's a, I mean,
Incredible
the reason
No,
work.
if
Like,
if
Rebecca
she was really
Henderson
bad, if
wasn't
she's really
an
bad at
actress,
it,
then it would be nepotism. But it's like, yeah,
yeah. I'm like, I was
she's in
just,
Russian Doll, I believe, too.
she is, yeah. I was just going because I'm like, I know her from places, and I'm
that's
trying to figure
actually
out where
really
in that
sweet.
game.
So then we have the jailbreak scene.
So good,
Really
right?
good for so many reasons. We get the symbiote
like,
sort of like
Mhm.
thing. The droids are amazing. The droids that when deactivated turn back into chairs. That's just
Yeah.
yeah, the
chef's
chair
kiss.
droids.
So funny.
Chef's kiss.
Chair
I know.
droid.
I was so excited when that happened. I was just like almost clapping, and I actually was like, I was visibly excited. That sounds gross. I was kind of like pumping my fists. I was like, let me be a little clear about what was happening. And then
We're all
Carla
visibly
Carla
excited
told me,
watching
she's
the
like,
show.
what? I'm like, the droids, and she's like, yeah, they were cool.
Oh.
She's like,
I was like, tee
She's like,
hee,
they're
Jenny,
cool.
look,
Cyborg
they're
guy looked
chairs.
crazy,
Tee hee.
too.
That was
I know.
my response.
But I was like, she's like, you show more excitement for that than what the stuff that your kid just brought home from daycare. Like, I know, but look, the chairs. They're chairs.
Oh man.
Yeah. They all escape, and then she gets left behind.
Right.
Has to help that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So-
is, I think, telling of her
Yes.
character. She is
At this
Jedi,
point, Ben
good
still thinks it
character.
could be the same person as the other person. So I'm like, no, I don't know. That's a pretty good guy thing to do.
She's doing so many different things with her body language and just her like face that it's just like I think I just commend her performance for feeling like two distinct people, and so I wasn't really thrown at all. I was like, this is a different character. Like, just felt she just portrays the two sisters so differently in such a brilliant way that I was
I was with you,
I was
Ben.
guided by her acting.
I was too, but I was still like, maybe this is a knowing, right? Like, maybe this is like, because there's a moment later, what we'll get to, where I'm like, maybe they're actually just, they don't call it split personality anymore, but I'm blanking on my DSM-5
Right.
diagnoses. But I'm like, maybe they're like, but like, so I'm with you, but at the same time, I was at this. The other thing is like, so weird things happen post this moment in the show where we get a lot of visions occurring, right? And there's also something else that like I think it's a red herring, or not even red herring, but like, remember the dye book, the parasite that she rips off of the person's face that goes running into the vents, that does weird things to your brain. Yes. I was just sitting there going like, it's weird that this thing crashed and this thing's in the vents and we never see it again. Just saying. It escaped. It seemed weird to me.
It's doing dieback things.
Yeah, it escaped. Yeah,
it doesn't
just
want to be
weird
on people's faces. It's not like a face sucker. It just kind of
wants
to live in the trees.
I think it's like I think it's a face sucker.
It probably does other good things that it does too. Like, I don't know, turn flowers purple or something. I don't know.
Just saying. It
doesn't
weird
have
to me every
to
time
be
I watch it. I'm like, this is it's a weird thing to introduce, and it to play no part later. But I guess like part of me is like, it gives you the purpose of the guy. It does give you the purpose of the person escaping and then becoming lucid again later with Soul. Like it's there's something there. I don't know, but yeah,
that scene is so good.
Love the person, love the escape, love the crash. Yeah.
The crash.
We don't see many ship crashes in Star Wars. Not enough.
No, and it's an incredible set piece. It's like an incredible thing to witness.
Really great. I don't want to get too much into the action because I'm just like, oh, all right, great. I think we flash back to the Jedi Temple, or we cut back to the Jedi Temple. We meet Jekki, who is a half Thelan, half human. And I guess there was a character in Expanded Universe that Leslie Henlon loved, and that was half human, half Thelan, and she just wanted to make one.
Okay, cool.
But she's interesting, and she's the Padawan of Soul, as far as I can tell. So that's cool that he has a Padawan, and she's fun.
She's good. I like that character a lot. I like her. They really, her interactions with Yord are amazing in both episodes.
Yeah.
Like it's a good pairing. It's really fun.
And they start working together, and they're like, oh, you know what, we can work together, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Right. She crashes on Karlak,
she's so great.
I think.
Yeah.
And then Osho wakes up in a very like flashback to The Force Awakens, like sits up and like on the cut.
Yeah, it's almost a forced cave moment where it's like we
Yep.
see her sister run away from her. It's very horror
Yeah.
actually. It's sort of like just
Mm-hmm.
jump scare,
Mm-hmm.
like the
Yeah.
little sister appears and then she chases little sister into the Arctic tundra and then it has this crazy flashback to a forest and she says it's Brand or is this Brandock? Like so you're on
Yeah.
Brandock when you see that sort of forest environment and then she confronts her sister there, chases after the forest catches on
Right.
fire,
Ever
which I think is
spreading.
connected to. I mean, we've seen fire again when she's doing the welding on the spaceship. We
Yeah,
see
she has a
fire,
little.
fire again here in a major way that's sort of all encompassing, and then eventually catches up to her sister in like it kind of does a really cool sort of like tracking shot of sort of her like going through different environments,
Yeah.
like appearing in different sets, and it's really cool. She ends up in like this homestead and then speaks to her sister, and her sister's like, I'm going to kill all the Jedi, and her eyes go black, and it's just truly
Right. And
terrifying.
they sort of exchange sort of like a code phrase. Like it must have been some nursery rhyme or something they would
Yep.
say to each other as children. I am of so this she has a vision of her sister again later. I think she doesn't look too strong in the Osha doesn't look too strong in the force. Like she can't even use the force to grab a thing. And granted, she's like 6 years out of training.
Right. Oh, we skipped over this. Yeah, she can't grab Pip, the
Yeah.
little
Right, from
droid,
2 feet away.
in this
Yeah.
scene, which I love that scene because she can't grab it. And again, Soul, a couple scenes earlier, saying, the Force is extremely powerful. We have to treat it with responsibility. And she's kind of calling for the device, gives up, and then like the
Yeah.
ship rocks in such a specific way where it feels serendipitous that like, the Force is sort of giving it back to her
Yeah,
at this
the
point.
force provides.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
which
Right.
is fantastic.
love
But
it.
so I think that maybe like that's not her strength, but maybe these force visions are. And I think that's what they are. I think this is all. Granted, she was pseudo knocked out. We then after that scene, she sits up again, but like in real life, she's not having the dream anymore. But she treats it like it happened and it was real. And when
Yeah.
she tells Pip, she's like, "You'll never guess who I just saw." Um, and yeah, I think that's one of her force powers is she has this sort of some sort of, I mean, at least with her sister, maybe it's a force connection, but at first I thought it was like a force Skype again. This was, there was, she was using the Ryan Johnson thing and they were communicating. But I think what we find out later when, May doesn't even know she's alive, that it couldn't be. So that only leaves like some
Sure.
sort
Right.
of force vision because it obviously happens again in the next episode.
And she seems shut off from the Force at this
Well,
point,
she did
right?
just
she's
try
not
to use it.
using the Force.
Like she did just try to reawaken
Yeah.
to the force.
Yeah.
So maybe it's starting to come back, or who knows?
It'll start to come back.
Or, I mean, we don't know why we haven't been revealed why she left
Mhm.
the order, right? Like we haven't figured that out yet. Which this isn't necessarily related to that, but part of me feels like I wonder if they're going with the twins is that the force is kind of divided between the two of them, right? So they have complementary strengths and
Yeah,
weaknesses.
that could be.
Right, where one's more cerebral, one's connected with the living force, one's connected with the
Yeah.
who knows? We'll see. Like it'll be interesting, to
Right,
see if
because
they
we
play
hear
around with that a little bit.
differing narrative there too, right? Where it's like Yord says, Master Indara is the one who wanted to discontinue your training, and then Osha herself tells Soul later, it was my choice alone that I left the order.
Yeah,
Or Yord, I don't know who she says
It's the
says
Soul,
that
yeah.
too, but
yeah. I think
it's a
it
Soul,
was,
I think.
was a soul. Okay,
And
yeah.
so you're kind of like, it seems like she left on her own volition, but there was also someone reporting to discontinue her training. Like, what happened there? There's lots of questions I think the audience has for what was going on with her training, and maybe if her mourning was affecting her, as Yord says, there was when she was inducted into the Jedi, she was in a state of
Yeah.
mourning and trauma, I imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, maybe we don't know, but I know we're going to get flashbacks that's going to fill in, I think, some of the stuff because we've seen, and we'll get to episode 2, we'll talk about it. We've seen versions of characters that are younger than what they're
Yep.
portrayed on
Yeah.
screen currently. So, like, I think we're going to fill in some of these, but it is doing that thing, which I think is necessary mysteries, but it is a little bit of just like, because it's also like, how do you reveal this information without just being like, a narratively clunky exposition filled thing. But part of me is just like, just tell me why she left the Jedi Order. But I'm like, I get it. I get it. We're building suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't tell it any other way, really. Yeah.
So Soul catches up with her on that's in this episode. And they have an exchange, and they have that kind of heartfelt, like, maybe, she's like, I was always a bad student. He's like, maybe I was a bad teacher. Which you mentioned Grant, super touching.
Stuff.
Yeah, and it's nice, and she's in there, but obviously not necessarily trusted by Yord, because Yord is Yord, as Jackie said.
Yord's Yord. Yep.
And then I don't want to skip too fast over that, but then we get to the last scene of the episode, which Grant, take it away.
So this scene just starts with the Acolyte sort of tiptoeing across these like rocks on this shoreline, what looks like an Octu-esque sort of ocean
very
world.
Similar to Octu.
And you just really get hit with VO from a character who I wasn't listening to subtitles because I didn't need them. I just wanted to watch the show on its, on just its own, before I add that to the mix. But he says in this crazy sort of deep, vocoded sort of helmeted, like a character that's within a helmet or a mask, usually like your Banes or your Kylo Rens. It's just a heavily vocoded character. And he's going, the Jedi live a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, steel, or laser, you are no threat to them. An Acolyte kills without a weapon. An Acolyte kills the dream. Just super powerful, like sort of ending to that, like pilot. Any pilot that just sort of just drops some crazy philosophy at the end of the episode will just always be like grade A, fresh in my opinion. But
yeah,
I love
really
that.
great. And then, I mean, the scene's iconic. He's standing on the bluff and in very much Darth Maul fashion, ignites the lightsaber for no reason.
I think we're using he pronoun because they do in episode 2, maybe like the master or he. I think
they call him him.
It's
so just pronouns.
He call him and the, but I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
That person is identified as just the master when you see subtitles. That's all in quotation marks. So no hints really. It's so funny. The lighting of the red lightsaber did not bother me in the moment. Like, I'm like, that's cool. And then after a second, I'm like, that's damn Darth Maul. Like, why are we lighting lightsabers?
Because I
we know
for dramatic effect.
I'm like, you think there's cameras here? Like, it's dramatic effect, but I guess, what? Hey, Sith are dramatic, or dark side users are dramatic, right? It's a dramatic point. It's fine, whatever. It's cool. I love seeing a red lightsaber, so I really I cannot complain.
If you had a red lightsaber, you'd ignite it all the time to make a point. Also,
I mean, my lightsaber behind me is out of batteries.
You got to,
because I keep lighting it randomly a lot. So right, so who am I to judge?
Okay, on to.
But yeah, so the Jedi live in a dream
that they think everyone shares.
I think everyone else shares. But the Acolyte kills the dream. This character seems to be obsessed with, sort of like destroying the sort of the mind view of the Jedi, or like the sort of the perspective of the Jedi, or
the lie of the Jedi, the myth of the Jedi. I mean, it seems very Sithy, right? Like,
too, honestly. I honestly, I don't care who that character is, as long as it's not Marchion Ro. But it's a little nihil-y also. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of, as much as I enjoy it, it is kind of Mad Libby dark side user. Like, it's not badly written, right? Like, I like it. I really, really like what's being said, but it's also like you can only say so many things that don't just sound like the Jedi are a lie, right? Like, but I appreciate it. So it's like it just doesn't really give away anything in a good way.
Yeah, peace is a lie.
But like, you can't attack the Jedi with a weapon, steel or laser, like that.
Yeah, I love that.
It's just, to me, it's like, is this an inside job? Is this like a Jedi trying to create? Like, is this a Watchmen thing? Like, is something happening?
Man,
knows the Jedi so well that they, want him. I don't know.
Maybe like
to the Jedi
with fear of the dark side in order to provide them more secure
I mean, like
power.
maybe that's the real twist that we're gonna see. I mean, we pretty much know that something. Even now, we know the Jedi messed up, right? So whatever happened on Bartok, one of the Jedi messed up, and it's something they all have to live with, and we know that like there's going to be a bit.
Since we're at the end of this episode, can we just like throw out some playful guesses of like what we think happened? Because like to me, it did a lightsaber ignite the forest? Like were they not practicing good fire safety? Like what happened?
Like we are currently on Kofar because
Yeah,
there was a giant Wookiee that told us
Exactly.
only we could prevent forest fires.
I mean, you
Right.
do not want to not practice fire safety around
No.
Kelnaka's
Not at all.
territory.
So angry. You promised me a Wookiee Jedi for forever.
man.
That's all I've ever wanted in live action. You give me 3
Oh,
seconds,
buddy.
3 seconds, and then you're like, wait,
I
next
heard
next
there's
week.
going to be
All
a
right,
Kelnaka
so angry. But yeah.
comic coming out.
I
Yeah.
saw that. Yeah. I'm excited. Wait till the Black Series comes out for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like
This is one of those things I don't
I don't
spend a
know.
lot of time thinking about because whatever I think of isn't going to be as good as what they come up with.
Yeah, they'll
She'll answer it in a really creative,
Yeah.
interesting way. Maybe they showed some sort of dark side power. Like I don't know.
And then like we'll talk about Khmer, I think, in the
we'll
next
talk about
episode where it's
Torben,
like,
too, yeah.
could it be like, yeah,
Yep.
have Khmer and the helmeted Sith character ever been seen in the same place at the same time?
I thought of
you know
that
what I mean?
too
Like
on my third watch through.
there were like vibes
Yep.
I was getting where I was just like,
Yeah,
he is so
right.
talky and he's so Palpatine. Like he's the most Palpatine character I've seen since Palpatine essentially.
Totally.
And there's a scene we'll talk about that. It's just
All right.
like,
Well,
yeah,
why don't we
how-
jump into the beginning
Yep.
of episode 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
I guess they're on Olega. Is the planet?
Olega.
Yes. And all right, so that's it. And then I think we get May breaking in to confront Master Torvin this time, who is in the
yes.
middle of his Marash vow meditation for the day. And I thought that was really awesome.
It just rendered invulnerable in some weird
In a
force field.
cocoon of deep,
Right.
deep
So cool.
meditation that is impenetrable from like 3 feet away, just like levitating
I
3
know.
feet off the
Yeah.
ground, just impenetrable.
Pure vibes. That is pure vibes. The meme,
Pure
like
vibes.
right there.
Oh man, there's going to be a lot of memes about Master Torvin, I think.
Torben's getting some
Yeah.
meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like enlightenment. It's
totally.
like the mind explosion meme. It's like all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Me waiting patiently for next week's episode of the Acolyte. He's fantastic. May makes a fool of herself trying to get through it, barely escapes. Someone saw her apparently. That other dude chases her.
Podcaster Dan walks in the room.
Podcaster Dan.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
I will say again, great use of aliens at the outside of the episode of her approaching the Jedi temple. Love the alien, love the the droid doorkeepers. Like just a great world setting just from the get. Yeah.
Yeah. How she again pays off a local to help her infiltrate a base.
Right.
Cool stuff. She escapes. Yord we talked about, and then and then I think we get Chimere, right? Do we finally get introduced to Chimere?
Yeah, I think we get.
Yes.
We might get Soul and them arriving on the planet, maybe. Or no, we get Khmer. We get Khmer next. You're right, Khmer. So we go into the apothecary shop and we meet this
Where
character.
He's killed the proprietor. We don't see the body, but it's implied.
Yeah. He says the clothes he's wearing belong to the previous owner, and he just stole them. And he insinuates that he does the same thing that May does. I think he also the business that they're in or something like killing assassins, essentially acolytes.
He's an acolyte, right? He's another acolyte.
Yeah, he's an acolyte.
He has to be because he's he knows
100% an
about
acolyte.
him, that there is a him, and
Yeah.
so I think he's a fellow acolyte because there's a little adversarial relationship between the two of them as well. Like maybe they're friends
Yeah.
more than say inquisitors would be at each other's throat. They never help each other for any reason, right? But like these two are kind of, they have an uneasy peace between each other.
Yeah, that scene's incredible. I think just the Manny Jacinto monologuing is just so good. And then like the fact that he's drinking,
Yes.
on the job, and then he's
Yeah.
prepares the poison like a bartender, like just this immaculate sort of all these accoutrements that he uses. It's just like I don't know. It's just such a good scene. I thought of you, Ben,
He's
in that
pretty
moment.
extra casual.
A quick shout out. He's really good. A quick shout out to the actor. Did either of you watch The Good Place?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he's in
the
Good
guy.
Place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's Jason. Carly called it out. He's like literally like halfway through the episode. She's like, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers guy. Like
Jacksonville
she could not
Jaguars,
think of
but
the
okay.
character's name.
Yeah, worse.
Because Jacksonville Jaguars. No, she actually, to be fair, she did say Jacksonville
Blake Bortles
Jaguars.
is going to save our season.
To be fair,
Bortles,
me
yeah,
this
Bortles. But like anyway, like and then like, it took me forever, and I'm like, but he's so good, like because I did not place him, and it's like totally different character, but like equally charming, and like that idea of just being able to, like he's so good in this episode in the show. Yeah, I'm very excited that he's going to be part of this.
Now you got me thinking even more. I mean, because he's so casual, Grant, and like it's just like like he could be the guy. He could be the dude in the mess.
Right. So later, and just we're moving kind of quickly here, but like it makes perfect sense to go to this scene, which is like they start doing lookout from the temple after she brings the poison back to the temple, gives it to Master Torben, and then is that what happens?
I think so. Once she gets the poison from Chimere, she goes back to the temple, and then Master Soul and our team shows up sort of right after her.
Right.
And
because
then you get the Jedi
was an
rushing
attempt.
Chimere, and Chimere's like, "Oh no, I didn't do anything," and it's just like so Palpatine in that moment where I was just like, "This is such a Palpatine react to Anakin walking in the room or something."
I mean, I don't want to skip over Master Torben's demise, but I do want to get into that scene. Is it cool if we just?
We'll go back to Master Torben's demise. Let's really cover that.
No.
We could do things a little out of order, but it's fine. So she does, Chimere gives her the answer to how to kill him. And, and it's to play on his, and I mean, that guy, they had him read perfectly. Like, first of all, the scars on his face, it's like he wears his internal scars on his outside. And I mean, that guy is guilty. He's feeling like, I don't know what happened on Bartok, but I have a feeling the guy that messed up was Torben. Because, I mean, I don't think he's just taking it hard. He's like, no, this was wrong.
He says, so you find out podcaster Dan says he's been in a Barish Wow meditation for 12 years.
Or at 10 years. He hasn't
and then
talked
when
for
he
10
comes,
years.
10 years. Okay, sorry, 10 years.
Yeah.
16 years ago was the incident in question. And then when she gives him the poison, he comes out of it and he says, "We thought we were doing the right thing."
Yeah. He says, "Forgive me. We thought we were doing the right thing. I've been waiting for you, May." He also said.
Yeah.
Wait, so does he call her May?
Yeah.
The other thing is all right. So that timeline,
I think he does,
lines up where he took the Barish Wow exactly when Osha left the Order. There could be something there.
Well, Osha left 6 years.
6 years ago. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Nope.
Yeah.
I got the 6 years on the wrong
doesn't
end
line
of
up.
that
That's right.
time period.
No, it's got to be.
But I think
incident on Brandok.
It's got to be trauma from splitting up twins, from disconnecting twins who were so close to each other. Like that to me is the original sin, that they're like, we thought we were doing good, and bringing him these twins, like who when they talk to each other, like we are one, like we were together, like we were like, their whole like twin talk is basically how they're one person, and the Jedi split them apart and lied to them and told them that the other one died. Like that's my thought of what the original sin is.
That could be the real one, even though it's like May's just like, no, you do use weapons against the unarmed and all that. I mean, which that could be a little bit of a head fake. and just fit the scene from the last
Yeah.
episode. But all right, so now we can move on, and they just miss it. They track.
Could I say one thing real quick about what I appreciate about that scene is that like, so I was watching it getting really frustrated that I thought they were going to do the thing where
Yeah.
OSHA was going to get blamed for it, and it was going to be this whole thing where I'm like, I was just super frustrated. I'm like, stop touching the body, stop doing all this stuff. And that was a great moment where I think Leslie Headland's doing the thing where she's playing on people's assumptions about how storytelling is done. And then Yord just walked in and is just like, no. And it's a great moment for Yord too, right? Yord being shown as like somewhat trustworthy and just like, no, I'm also looking for the truth as well here. It was a great little character moment between everyone, and it moved the plot forward without having this. I would have been so frustrated. I thought we were so worried we were going to spend the rest of the episode with OSHA trying to like also show she didn't kill this person too. Where it's like, no, this has been solved in 30 seconds. Great, let's move on.
The bad direction would have been like framing OSHA constantly.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like Yord is ever vigilant, and like we've got Jedi actually doing incredible Jedi work here, Sentinels, if you will.
Like literally after that scene, I felt comfortable with the show. That was the scene that I'm like, I'm on the show's side now because I'm like, we're not wasting.
That's exactly
we're not
what
wasting
I was going to say. It's just like after that, I was like, I knew that Leslie's going to take care of us. It's like she's moving the plot forward. Yeah. There were witnesses. We're not going to waste time with a communication breakdown.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, how about the apothecary across the
that's
street?
Like we can see from here that I look at every day.
It's very Ferrix. Yeah. It's like, how about that shop right there across the street?
So the other podcaster spots, that's not the guy. And then actually, it's so funny. Yord comes up with a Yord plan where it's like, I bust through the door like a hero and stun him. And she's like, or we could like learn something. And Soul goes with Jeky's.
It's such a great Jackie Yord moment.
But all right, so this is where it gets really interesting. So we have the worst undercover operation ever done by anyone undercover in the history of for some reason,
the worst.
OSHA forgets how to talk, how people who know each other talk to each other.
I will just keep saying the same thing.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Yeah. How are you? Are you doing well today? It was
so like, so when do you think, we know Chimere eventually figures it out, but like, when do you think Chimere figures it out? Because he spills some beans.
I know he put his foot in his mouth.
He does.
He knows. I mean, he knows he put his foot in his mouth.
He?
Like
when he says him,
just as he's walking towards her, he's like, "Oh, this is not."
So does he not know till he's really like 3 feet from her face? And he's like, "You look just like her."
I think so.
I think so. I think when he says that thing, he realizes, I really stepped in it. Because the rest of it does seem reactionary and like I'm trying to say, and he's really good at saving his own skin in a way that I appreciate, which is like he's really smart and resourceful and good acolyte, but I don't think he's a master. But I don't know.
Right. So then,
I don't know.
You know, he's busted. He realizes he's busted and says, "Don't use that memory wipe thing on me or whatever you do." The Jedi do.
That was smart. That was calculated. That's a very calculating thing to say because they would have probably if he didn't say that.
Yeah, but
like he's very quick on his feet.
Or it's a call forward to some memory wipe thing that is actually plays a huge.
But if they
part
looked in his
story.
mind, I think it would break the show because I think he might know more than May does when Soul looks in there. Because
so you just.
Or just collectively having both of their view into both their minds, you'd have way more clues.
So that's him waving him off, like, "Don't do a mind trick on me. I don't want you looking in there." Which is like, Soul should have just done it anyways.
Wait, nitpick though, like, do they get his information and like keep like a Jedi on watch? Like he just sold a deadly poison. Like I was so confused about that.
So he comes forward. He's like, "I don't know her, but I do know she wants to kill 4 Jedi," and like.
He said him though, like he said he or whatever at one point, and I'm like, the Jedi aren't like immediately zeroing in on that.
Soul was like, "Who is he?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean that guy? I thought he came with you." But and then like so he deflects, and then like,
see,
I think that's all that Soul like. That's all Soul needed to hear. He was like, "Oh, there's definitely a him."
Yep.
And like, there's definitely a master.
There's
somewhere.
a master, a mind or something.
There's definitely a master there. So, but it just all. He spills enough to sort of move things along in such a calculated way. I think there might.
Yeah, he's very Palpatine. It's like, here's all the information you need, and it gets me out
right, and maybe
free,
furthers an agenda further down the
Yep.
line. Like he
brings them to the guy or
Chimera
something.
could be the guy.
That's the thing is, I don't think Chimera is the guy,
yeah.
but I think Chimera is working for the guy in a much closer arrangement than we realize. Because like the other part, which we'll get to in a moment, is he's still hanging around for zero reasons. Why is he still there?
He's being watched
when May comes back. But there's easier ways to distract and get the heck out of there. But he specifically gets her to go to the next target. Right? Like there's something going on there where he's manipulating May through the master is my thought. It's like he's the master's right-hand man. I don't know. Maybe his Sith apprentice.
Maybe he's
I don't know,
up
or
in
something
the Acolyte
like
food chain or something.
I don't know. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope there's even more acolytes. That'd be super fun. Especially if they're as interesting as Chimera, then it would be awesome. He does like in the scene he sort of, or the earlier scene I guess with him, he lays out the mission for May. It's like there was 4 Jedi there. She's gonna try and kill all 4 of the Jedi. I do want on a T-shirt Indira Torvin Soul Kill Naka, just like on a T-shirt, like because like that is such
with lines through 2 of them.
Know, right. Well, yeah, by the end of the series it could be all of them, but
no, Torv's meditating though. Like
I know, no, but I just want the names like on it with the ampersands. Because it's like
I love it.
I think that can you imagine like the 4 of those Jedi Masters hanging out? Like that's a hot tub right there, or a nice dinner party. Like they're all like really cool Jedi, and to think about them operating together,
it's
like
true.
I'd love to see more about that.
I mean, is Torben though? Torben seems like the dork. Of the entire
I thought
group,
he was a dork, but like I was like, oh my god, there's going to be a million Torben cosplayers like at the next Star Wars celebration. But then he spoke, and he has like one of the coolest voices I've ever heard. And like I don't know who the actor was that played it, but the line delivery was amazing.
It's really good. I also think so. They do so. If you go to Wikipedia, the picture for him is from a flashback that we haven't seen yet.
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure he's a Padawan during the entire during whatever happens. So, which is interesting, right? That we have different levels of. It's not just all Jedi Masters that were in this that were involved with this. The other thing I was going to say that I appreciate about the show is we now know her mission, or we're now told what her mission is. There's probably more going on, obviously, but what we're told is her mission is to eliminate 4 Jedi Masters. We have, by episode 2, identified who all 4 are, and 2 are gone, right? Which and so they're on the way to get the 3rd. So I'm like, this right. So clearly, there's a lot more going on here than her just having to kill 4 Jedi.
Yeah,
so I appreciate this.
I was starting to get at earlier is I think like the big reveal is what happened to the Master. Like, why is he chagrined? Like, why is he have this axe to grind with the Jedi? Like, it's like obviously something happened to May, but like what happened to him?
Well,
right.
And like it also in the narrative of Star Wars or like the idea of the Sith and stuff like that, it's like, is there a better chance that maybe a Jedi is the master or something? You know what I mean? Like
could be.
It maybe. I guess what would be weird to me about that if they decided to do that is so it'd only work if they didn't know, if it never came out that was the case, because like so within 100 years they get fooled by a Jedi and they get fooled by the Chancellor. Like like that, like I can only have being suckered so many times in 100 years. That's a little, you know what I'm saying? Like we already have them being punked by Palpatine for 20 odd years. That it's rough if we're gonna do this. Someone they should have known, but I don't know.
I also don't think the Master's the Master. He might be their master.
Like Khmer could be the master.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. He could be the real master.
I don't know. The voice sound of the cadence of the voice was interesting to me. I was trying to place like who that could be.
Right.
But it feels heavily vocoder. Like it could be anyone essentially.
Yeah.
It could even be a woman or, it could be, it doesn't, it could be anyone.
Could be a Biff. We don't know.
Sith Biff.
Just saying.
Oh, man.
Don't worry, it's not.
So then we have the
We do.
face off between May and Soul, which is
So good.
fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Which led to your laugh out moment was when Yord and what's her name came strolling in. My laugh out moment, like literally, I had to pause it. Carly's like, "Stop laughing! It's not that funny." I'm like, "It's really funny to me." Is when he's using the binoculars to watch the fight happening from 10 yards away. He's 10 yards away. His binoculars make it look further away than he is. Like there's a moment where they show him like, just stop it, dude. What
Use
are you
your
doing?
eyes.
Sorry.
He's also, and before that moment, you're just like, intervene,
weird.
help restrain the suspect, and then
That's the other thing too. Is like, why are we?
and
all
then he's
just,
like, he's trying to learn who her master is, and it's just like, okay, you can't just like. Well, wouldn't interrogating this, like talking to the suspect afterward, like yield that information? Like I just don't understand.
You earlier you demonstrated that you have a stun weapon. Maybe use it now.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, he technically didn't because it was stuck with what's her name had it, and she was deep in a building somewhere, like hiding out. Yeah. So we see that.
Jackie in the ship was awesome though.
That was cool.
I just want to say that Casual Jason Nerd just joined us on chat. Nice. So just a shout out.
Welcome, we missed you, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
incredible.
So he loved the first episode. By the way, clapped at the end. They just finished episode 1.
Yeah.
Sorry for spoiling.
Stop listening to us, Jason. As much as I miss you, man. We're talking about 2 right now, so go watch episode 2. But or else we're gonna spoil this whole darn thing for you. Now I feel bad, and I don't want to talk anymore. But
this
is for Jason. We're signing up. I don't know. So we get the interaction there with May, and she's in a tight spot. There's no beating Soul. That guy is insane, an insane fighter.
Yeah.
And and then he reaches out his hand, which I thought was just like. He's still, that interaction between Soul and Osha, talking about, he's like, what you want is revenge. He's like, I wasn't able to help her back then. I want to be able to help her now. Like, it's just really great, all-timey thing.
Yeah. Very Jedi.
I couldn't save her then. Let me save her now.
One of the little quotes I did hear from before this was, is it Jae Jung Kim? Is that the name of the actor that plays Soul?
Lee Jung Jae.
Sorry. He said he was modeling his performance after Qui-Gon Jinn.
I know, perfect. I definitely. I know.
I'm like, and they makes. Then he did a great job because Grant's just like he's my.
He doesn't want to meet with the small council. He's like, no, thank you. I was like, that's Qui-Gon energy.
Just want to help the kids. Definitely. So he's great. Osha has May in her sights and obviously intentionally misses and lets her get away.
Yeah, but I think what's interesting about that is like so. Both are shocked that the other one's alive, or at least, which I appreciate because I was also watching a scene. This is the scene where I'm just like, okay, it's weird that they put Osha like completely away. She's not even like observing this fight going on, and I'm like, why are we like as again? I was doing the dumb thing, which my brain can't help but doing, which is like trying to like game it out and figure out why you're shooting it this way, why you're the boring thing that makes me not enjoy fun things. But anyway, so at the end though, I got
nice things, Adam.
Exactly, but I appreciate at the end where I'm like, oh, it's because what they were trying to hide from us is that May didn't know that Osha was alive, which I'm like, that's such a neat reveal that I was not expecting. Like you just assumed this whole thing that May is just I know my sister's around, so. Fascinating stuff.
Which puts in perspective all those visions that Osha's had of May in a whole different light. And you're like, oh, wait a second.
Which raises a lot of questions, too, especially about Jedi and what they know about the twins. Because Soul wants to bring Osha to confront May and sort of like wants to see what happens here.
Vernestra
If
wants it
OSHA can
too.
indeed help them
But
locate
like,
Yeah.
but then
May.
they
And
keep.
so
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, no, keep no, well, no,
But I'm
interject. I
like,
want to know.
but they specifically keep May away from her during this scene.
So this is
Yeah.
interesting. Are some Jedi trying to keep this information hidden
Right.
and erased essentially? And then is Soul and maybe a couple other Jedi being like, I don't know why they're not allowed to understand that the other is alive and they shouldn't be able to see each other. Like I'll bring them together if I want. If
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
good. I think that the Force maybe is calling for that. Um, and then it feels like there's other Jedi who might be just covering up the details about this. And then it just begs the question, who? And the only character that they've really put forward in the Jedi Order that I'm just slightly suspicious of is Vernestra
Yeah.
Rowe, because
Yep.
she just is like this commanding force of the Jedi. And if anyone has clearance to erase things from the archives, it's probably her. Like there's a lot that I'm just like, who is trying to keep these twins apart and why? And it's like, I got to imagine it's like a super powerful Jedi
Yeah,
at
she
the top.
she clearly knows what's up. Like she knows what happened. Like I think whatever happened on Bartok, Brandok, uh,
Rendar, yeah.
it seems to me like Vernestra Rowe knows what happened there.
Yeah, I think she knows what happened there. And then there's going to
Yeah.
be, she's going to have her own point too. Like, May thinks she has a point in that the Jedi started the fire and Torvin is somehow implicated in doing horrible things. Um, like May has a point, right? There's the Jedi have committed maybe some injustice in this incident that we still don't know about. But I think all of us fans are just dying to see what happened
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I'm really just wondering if it's Torben as the youngling accidentally killed someone, started the fire, and there's this weird thing of just like because now I'm like wondering they're going with this thing like now my mind's just like now I'm just doing this like weird galaxy brain thing, which I'm overthinking everything. Where I'm just like, well, we have the scene in episode 1 where you had Yord kind of act like a cop reaching for his lightsaber too
Yeah.
fast, right?
Oh yeah, very impulsive.
So
To say.
what do we do? And we circle around, and so cops tend to circle around their fellow cops when there's an accidental shooting. So I'm like, what if there's an accidental lightsabering that occurs that kills one of the parents, right? That sets the fire out there, and we kind of like hide all of this, right? Like protect their own.
That'd be super
wonder.
dark.
I don't know.
mean, yeah, because it's like,
Yeah.
did the Jedi kill all of them? Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. That's good. If the fire started and it killed them. I don't know.
Did Torben freak
I hope
out
that's
and
not
just
the
start
case.
like killing witnesses, or like what happened there, man? Where did he get the scar from? Like it looks like that could be a lightsaber or something. It doesn't really look like a burn scar, but it could be. Like I think we're gonna see how he gets that scar.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, if you're like, it makes sense that maybe a Padawan is the sort of the commit to the injustice because, but like, what's the scenario in which they accidentally do something? And it's like, if their master is in jeopardy, I could see a Padawan doing something pretty reckless and pretty impulsive.
Yep.
So,
Because there's a ton of talk already about attachment in this show.
Yeah.
Right. They don't necessarily call it that, but nostalgia and other things. We get that lecture in the first episode between Soul and his Padawan.
Yeah. Well, that happens. We know everyone's heading to Kofar. Well, actually, May's heading to Kofar with Chimere. Vernestra calls them back, and this could be that sort of old person wisdom where it's like, nope, we don't just rush off and do weird things, even though that's exactly what they just did to get to Olega. But it is a little weird that she.
Or she's stalling the
right,
Yeah,
because
but it's
we
Kilnock
know
is in danger. Like, why wouldn't you immediately dispatch Jedi to go protect him if he's clearly the next in line? Why are we?
and he is right.
Yeah,
But what I mean is like, have the Jedi stated like they clearly know what this is connected to, right? So they know they have to know the 4 Jedi. Do they? I can't remember if they specifically state if they know who the 4 Jedi.
Yeah, Soul says
but they
we
have to
know where
right?
they're
Like,
going. Like we know.
Yeah,
And Vernestra's
right?
like,
So
no, we don't
that's
act
right.
like this. Come
Yeah.
back. We need to have a powwow. Which seems.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see both sides of it, honestly.
Yeah. But it's interesting. They know. She can't be going anywhere else.
So, but then then we see the last scene, and it's like some, I don't know, some ne'er-do-wells trekking through the forests of Kofar, and they stumble across Kelnaka's hidey hole in a downed starship, and he's just like, he sees them, screams at them, rips the blaster out of their hand, breaks it with his own hands, amazing, and just like yells at them, and they scare away. And it makes me think like maybe Vernesra's like, Kelnaka will be fine.
Yeah, he can take care of himself. Yeah.
Yeah, Wookiee Jedi. That's just like the last thing I think you want to battle. Like,
that's.
Was it?
I cannot state how long I've been.
I was going to say, Adam, is it everything you've been hoping a Wookiee Jedi would be? Because it kind of.
Not yet, because we haven't gotten it yet. Like that's the thing. We've got to tease.
Was this a Chewie homage with the little like sack
satchel
on like the satchel? Yeah.
I mean, he's got it. Like once he whips out a lightsaber, then it's real for me.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like just seeing a Wookiee holding a lightsaber, and I'm like, I'm done. Like all of my Star Wars dreams have been fulfilled at this point, and I can die happy.
Yeah.
In robes, just seeing him in robes is gonna be so cool.
I know.
Because it's just like methodically putting on the robes, like, just give me that scene.
Yeah, if he still does that.
Yeah.
I mean, his vibes are sort of like that, sort of like shell-shocked veteran that's just like, I'm just going to go live off the land for, forever and like not even wear. I mean, he's not wearing his robes here. I think we see in a preview he is, but that could be a flashback.
Flashback is my
could be a flashback.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he's just kind of this like already with just the little we've seen, like he's one of my favorite Jedi of all time. Just curmudgeonly, angry, full of strength, and just like and hiding really, just living out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
in the wild.
It is fascinating. Like we're like of the four Jedi, Sol is the only one that's kind of still in civilization, right? Like Indara is out on the frontier, right? Just being like a sheriff slash Jedi, and then we got what's his name doing the Barish Wow, and now we got a Wookiee in hiding, and it's it's interesting. I do love this that like clearly there's some big sin that they're all trying to set right, and I just love that they give these three characters similar ways to deal with it, right? Which is basically just to isolate themselves. And then Sol does the exact opposite. Sol's like, I'm just going to be a teacher, which again, it's so fascinating.
Which
I love
is
that
interesting in and of itself too. I mean, he clearly was in the field before, and now he's like, he is not just a teacher. It's a very important job, but that's he's not in the field anymore. And we get Vernestra being like, you're too valuable to the order to be in the field, even, because he's made himself indispensable. He's kind of doing the Yoda job, teaching the younglings, and we actually know from.
But maybe he's repenting for that trauma by training Osha as well. Like maybe bringing Osha under his wing was like part of that. Like, wow, that was an intense tragedy. I'm going to, make this girl's life better and teach her to be a Jedi and take her under my wing and do good that way instead of isolating himself. Because it is interesting that he's not.
It just.
Doing what the others are doing.
Yeah, and he's such a fascinating character because on their way to, in the first episode, on the way to find Osha, like, he talks about her being a twin, and there's a moment of like, do you think, and he's like, no, I know she's dead, right? Like, I know May is dead. And then the minute she meets Osha's like, May's alive, she's like, I believe you. I just love that instantaneous turn, right? Yeah.
So when he says it, it's pretty eerie, Adam, that line, because it's like, I saw her die or something.
Yes,
I was like,
that's right.
What?
That was the line. I saw her die. Yeah, which again, I don't know if you're implanting memories.
She's pretty heavily clad in robes and stuff like that. That like maybe she's fully burned or something, like in that fire.
I'm gonna go.
Stuff has happened. I don't know.
I think there's some mind effery going on. Like I think he did see her die. I think he really did see her die. I think someone implanted a
memory
seeing her
into
die
his brain.
Yeah.
Wild stuff, guys. Wild stuff. This has been a very long pod.
Oh, right, because there's that memory line too, where it's like
there's so many memory lines and messing around with heads.
A hollow message, recording of his Padawan, and Jackie comes in. She's like, we shouldn't keep hollow recordings of our Padawans, or we shouldn't practice attachment or whatever. It's like a sign of attachment or something. And he's just like, memories are lessons. Like if we don't, take heed, like we're doomed to repeat them or whatever. And I just love that line, and like that kind of hints at what you're talking about, Adam, where it's just like this idea that someone has done something to manipulate the past, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah,
in some
there's
via like
something.
our
Yeah.
Jedi archives or via perception of what happened that night or that
Right.
during that time.
I wonder, and
Yeah.
I know, yeah, I know how much Grant's gonna love this, but I'm wondering. We're all talking about flashbacks, but it's like if someone's memories have been changed, like, are we going to get? I think it's called a triptych. Is this what they did? Kurosawa did in Ran, where it's like everyone has a different memory of the same event.
Oh, and or
No, I
like
guess it's but that's it. It's sort of like,
what I can't think of what it's called.
Well, there's a lot of like,
but I
yeah,
mean,
there's a lot of twin narrative stuff too that
Yeah.
they could do rug pulls with, like switching places, stuff like that. That's always a common thing, that like a
yeah,
trope that can happen that
Yep.
totally like just rug pulls everything. That's just like, oh, May was actually Osha after her training and turned evil and like da 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 da,
uh,
and then Osha is like May or
Yeah.
something, and there's some kind of swapping that
yeah,
happened or something.
So here's my thought is that they have this really fine line to tread or a needle to thread or sew or whatever, in that they can't in the end discover that there's any Sithery going on, right? Like they can't for this to connect with the timeline, or as we talked about, everyone has to die, right? Who discovers the Sith, which they could do, but I don't think they're going to go that way. But if we've already dealing with the fact that they can mind wipe or
yeah,
mess around with beliefs, that like we could find a way that we get sort of characters to discover their Sith and discover and because of a greater good, or because of who we don't know who's doing the mind wiping as well. Or Grant, if you're right, if the Sith is inside the house, if the call is coming from inside the house, the end result might be that they wipe the memories again,
yeah.
right? Or for Nestor Rowe is the master. I don't know. Like, who knows? Like, we really don't know. I could not imagine they would do
Yeah.
that. But like,
I think,
yeah, I don't know.
My thought is not that. I think that's totally possible and like very very cool insight. But I'm kind of hoping
I
for
don't
like a
love it.
more baked, like you could get around it easily by if there is another tier to the Sith, and
Yeah.
the master is really the apprentice. And so it's
Mhm.
like the side the Jedi see are just sort of dark side Force users, and they're like, oh,
Yep.
we just think there's
Totally.
this rogue element. I mean, that's like the title
Yeah, plenty of people
screen
use the dark
said,
side.
like in the
tap
far
into
corners,
it.
the
Yep.
dark corners of the galaxy, some people have taught themselves to use the Force, and that's how the Jedi think about it. But it's just sort of like,
Yep.
but he does really, we see report to an actual Sith. I think
Yep.
that's kind of how you can get away with that, and that they never
Yeah,
use Sith by name, but
Right.
because they're still in the
But
shadows.
totally,
Yeah.
there's plenty of dark side users. We've dealt with that in all the EU
Yeah.
that's available. Is that yes, you could absolutely. I just
But I think Leslie's
I-
used the term Sith like in interviews.
she has. She has mentioned though in interviews that there's no, you will not get a Darth Bane
Cameo, yeah.
mention, a cameo or
okay.
mention at all. She just said she wasn't quite ready to go there. It also sounded like when she was talking about that, by the way, it felt very like this season. It felt very like this season. So I'm like, is this the other thing? I was like, is this a longer story than like we're dealing with it like it's like a Obi-Wan standalone? But I'm wondering if we might just might not be a multiple season arc going on that we're just not told is happening. They might do the thing where they wait to see the numbers.
It'll
But
probably be
I don't
like
know.
an
We'll see.
ambiguous sort of ending.
Yeah, could continue, might not
Yeah.
continue. Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
Cool.
What didn't we talk about, guys?
I think we covered all of it.
Yeah.
We didn't leave anything off the table.
Cool.
Honestly.
Yeah. That felt thorough to me and a real fun tunnel to go down. Yeah, I mean, this has been my life for like the past 24 hours. I've seen it 3 times in 24 hours, and I'm just like,
That's awesome.
like I just can't stop thinking about it. I love it so much. So Grona to you all. You'll
Sagrona, Tina.
notice that this podcast is released a little earlier. we're going to do our best to stay on top of it because people care about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the sooner the reactions, the better when we can do it. But everyone's doing their best here. We're just operating out of a makeshift bar on a forest planet. So,
Also,
trying not to disturb the peace. And
I know.
Yeah. A 9 o'clock drop of 2 episodes makes it tough to record an immediate reaction pod.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I know. The 9 p.m. launch. That was a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Do we have a Wookiee Jedi episode coming up right now?
Oh,
is that what we're to expect?
If they do the thing where I don't get my Wookiee Jedi next episode because they go on a side tangent, whatever, I'm going to expect a very angry Adam next episode because I'm like, you can't have that.
Wookiee Jedi.
You can't do that and not fulfill that in the next episode. It doesn't need to be all of him, but like they better not to be like, oh no, we're gonna wait till episode 7 to show you that to go. No, but I do think, honestly, we're gonna get his story. I think we're gonna get a lot of him next episode.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm hoping for too. Excited. It's just like, oh man, excited. You haven't even heard Kelnaka's story. It's gonna take a whole episode. And
I think her revenge mission is gonna be wrapped up in the first half of the season.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
And then
I hope the Kelnaka episode slows down and it's just a lot of Kelnaka just doing mundane chores around the house to start.
Absolutely.
Leslie Headland really refers
to way down.
She's refers to deep lore and stuff in Star Wars, and I love how much she just talks about this and her love of the prequels, and the prequel love comes through in this. There's part of me is just she should do an homage to the holiday special.
Oh my god!
And literally just be almost a full episode that's all in Shirawook. There's no there's no one speaks. That's
Subtitles.
It. That's all we get. It's just him talking to himself throughout the entire episode, doing a day's chore. Remember, all I wanted in Obi-Wan was a single episode where he's just doing his stuff around the desert, and there's no dialogue, and I couldn't get that. So just give me my Wookiee talking for an entire episode, and I'll be happy.
You don't ask for much, Adam. You don't ask for much.
No, I'm very simple. It's very simple. Yeah.
You just want to see Tree of Life, but recasted with
Yeah, I would totally watch that movie, and maybe I'd like it this time.
Yeah, we could do that sentence.
Oh my god! That's a Tree of Life callback. We got Casual Jason, hope you're well, buddy, by the way, and Tree of Life callback. This is.
You just want some cinema verite Wookiee action, and there's no shame.
I love it.
That.
Be great. Yeah, especially this Wookiee, man. He seems super captivating.
Wistfully staring into the woods for a long duration.
Yes. No. Rad, man. Well, I hope we get it. But whatever happens, we'll be talking about it next week. Again, yeah. Cheers, Sagrona. Good to have you all here. Happy days as a Star Wars fan to get this brand new show. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's just so fun to be in this where we don't know, and we get to go episode by episode and get through it all. So, yeah, man. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week on... I'll press the button now. I'm just going to gesture on...
Cantina Chronicles.